Jude Bellingham just had one of the craziest seasons I've seen, full stop, period. As an Englishman, this is probably the best thing I've seen since Michael Owen back in 2001. The craziest part about all of this, he did it without playing a single minute of the Premier League. And when you do something like that, it makes me think, who else is out there in England that shouldn't be? Who else needs to leave? We've seen Jadon Sancho, Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane all leave England for the better. It's possible. It is very possible to be an English player and have success elsewhere. And honestly, the next guy that needs to go, for me, Jack Grealish. We don't like to stereotype at Lockdown Sports, but it feels like there's this mold. There's this mold for Premier League wingers right now. Diaby, Bailey, Bowen, Gordon. There are so many guys known for their pace, their power, their direct running that Jack Grealish honestly does not fit into. And we love Jack Grealish, but we don't love Man City Jack Grealish. We don't love Pep Guardiola Jack Grealish. We liked the one at Aston Villa, the one that was able to control games. At City, what do you get from him? You get him in a system where he's required to do a lot of little things that take away the best parts of his game. So we have to think and find a way across the rest of Europe, because I know he's not going elsewhere, where is he best off? And honestly, if he went to Italy, it might be hard to learn the language, but if he gets through that barrier, I think he could do it. I think he would make a real killing out of Serie A. I know that Serie A is a defensive league for you and me, and it's a lot slower, but honestly, that just means it's a whole lot more punishing when a player takes initiative in a game. When a player drives with the ball, carries it forward. We've seen him do it in the Premier League, Jack Grealish, win fouls, get to the final third, edge of the box, set pieces. He is a phenomenal all-round individual threat that I think in a Serie A system, whatever that looks like, whether it's a two-man up top, whether it's in behind two strikers, or even playing off the left, I think there's enough about his game, enough about his individual brilliance that I've seen in so many other players play off bigger men, that I can see him doing it in Serie A very easily. And I know I've said it before, I like Jack Grealish at Aston Villa. I miss Jack Grealish at Aston Villa. And honestly, if you want to see some of that where he's taking teams on by himself, I think Serie A is the way to go, because he's going to have a lot of opportunities running at a settled defense that you don't really see in Man City with the system. I think the opportunity is there for Pep to do it. He just doesn't have the balls, I'm afraid. So Jack Grealish, Serie A. The second player on my hit list is Adam Wharton. Now, you might have heard of him a little bit at Crystal Palace last season. I think we needed to hear a lot more of him in the Euros with Gareth Southgate, but it is what it is. You'll never get your respect as an Englishman if you're not in the top 6 sides. And that's the interesting thing with Adam Wharton, right? Is anyone in the top 6 really looking for a midfielder? Yes, Manchester United is, but they're probably going elsewhere right now. So if that is the situation that Adam Wharton, one of the young stars of the Premier League, finds himself in right now, you've heard all the comparisons. You've seen the Jack Wilshere comparisons. Yes, they might be a bit too early, but this is one of the most technically gifted players we've seen in a long time in the Premier League that's very capable with the ball at his feet, and I don't want to see it go to waste. I think a player like that needs to be in Spain. And yeah, you've heard the Liga stereotypes. I've heard them. Technical, witty, smart players playing. The technical floor of that game is higher than anything else you'll see in the Champions League. And a player like Adam Wharton honestly fits in anywhere. Any one of these teams, because the thing about La Liga, honestly, with midfielders, we've seen Merino, we've seen Ruiz, we've seen so many of these Spanish guys that were on the fringes dominate at the Euros. And now I'm getting to the point where I can genuinely say, regardless of where you are, you're going to be under the tutelage of a very good manager in La Liga, and they're going to teach you how to play like a proper midfielder, something that England neglects. So the earlier you make that move, the earlier you improve your game. And I know this won't happen. I know he's going to stay in England, but just for a moment, dream with me, walk with me. Atletico Madrid, so long known as the bastards of La Liga. Still, to this day, every time you see them come up against an English team, the technical floor of that team is insane. Every one of their players knows how to pass, knows how to move. This is a place where you get the best out of Adam Wharton and develop the parts of this game that if he moves to a top 6 club, we're going to see question marks. Can he track runners? Can he defend? How is he with his duels? These are the parts of the game that he will develop on top of his actual skill set. So with these English players, we've gone through Italy with Grealish, we've gone through Spain with Adam Wharton, France and Germany, that's the other teams in the top 5, and I thought we'd do this with a little bit of a twist. Let's talk about some players that should have left. Some players in the past that made the decision, as did everyone, to just stay in England just cause. Let's start with Germany, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm reading this off a script right now. What do we know about German football? Pacey, box to box, end to end, more fun than it is serious. And that last line is the stereotype that me and you and many people leave this earth with the Bundesliga. And there are a lot of players that fit into that stereotypes, you know, Werner, Royce, Aubameyang, Nkunku recently, Xavi Simons. There's a lot of players that are fresh, exciting, and the key denominator is pace. But what if I told you that wasn't the only stereotype? What if I told you in this league of 95 pace, hunter chemistry styles, there were players without it? There were the Yusuf Poulsens, there were the Choupo-Motings, there's the Harry Kane right now. There are strikers, there are attacking midfielders like Muller that are space invaders. There are a million ways to play this game, and the Bundesliga is not as asymmetrical as you and I probably think growing up with it. And this is where a player like Dele Alli can fit in. Off the field, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to hear it. We know, as a serious Premier League footballer, it is easier initially, I feel, leaving England, okay? Yes, there's obviously homesickness, all that, but we know the pressure, the scrutiny of Dele Alli returning to the Premier League. Obviously on that side of things, this is a massive win, but tactically, technically, this is a place where Dele Alli stands out, because as much as he is a goal scorer, as much as he is the goal scoring midfielder that got all those Lampard comparisons probably 5-6 years ago, he's very good in transition. He's very good with the ball at his feet, and every one of these guys, man, that's over 6 foot tall and is actually good with their feet, they can make transition light work. They can spin off defenders, they can make the final pass, they can make the dribble, whatever it takes to get that ball towards the final third. We didn't get to see it under Jose Mourinho for long, but I know that Dele Alli, if he was ever going to get back to what we want him to be, Bundesliga is not a bad shout at all. With Dele Alli, this is honestly a move that he could do right now, but he could have done 6-7 years ago in the prime of his career. If he was smart enough to leave, if, you know, we always joked about Harry Kane leaving, he did it way too long, way too late. If Dele Alli did it earlier, he could have gone to Bayern, and I could see him succeeding Thomas Muller, no questions asked. In that moment, I don't think that's hard to disagree with. There's only one place to end, and that's France, okay? And I feel like before we get into the player I've decided that is better off in France, I want to go through what France means for England, because a lot of players from France come to England and that transition works very well. Why can't it be the other way around? Why can't English players look to France as that solution? It's not even that far away from home. And the player that comes to mind, I'm not saying right now, but if he did it 5, 10, 15 years ago, I think he would have been great in France, probably anywhere. It's James Milner. I know. This is the most stereotypical English midfielder, fullback, centre back, striker, you name it, he could play there. And that is exactly why I can see him in a lot of these teams. He's a great culture fit for a lot of teams, as is reported by a lot of clubs. On top of that, you've seen him tactically fit in wherever in terms of a jigsaw puzzle. In a two-man midfield in France, I think he has the guile as well as the technical ability to survive in Liga. And on top of that, it is every manager's dream to ask your midfielder to just fill in at fullback, to fill in on the wing, to fill in at striker. And that is a dream that James Milner and I might as well say Ashley Young, are actually able to privilege their teams with. The stereotypes with all of these leagues, they're nothing to go by. There is no ultimate rule. There is no Bundesliga tax. Actually, there might be, but there's no one solution that fits everything, okay? If you are a good enough player, you can have it translate to every single league, every single situation. I firmly believe that. But this is just an experiment. What if players left England because we haven't seen it enough? Chris Smalling is one of the few guys that tried it. Joe Hart is one of the few guys that tried it. There are so few guys that have actually tried it and succeeded. I want to see more of it. So there you have it, fellas. 4 players that should leave England, not for a holiday, just for the chance at a more rewarding footballing career.